So the market is in complete free fall with everybody freaking out about everything's going on. Stocks going down massively day after day after day. But guess what? That also means there's going to be some incredible steal deals. And that means the steal of the century might have already been identified. So let's talk about that stock, what exactly could be kind of the case around that and everything else. And I'll tell you if this stock is the steal of the century or not. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype, because that's exactly what you're going to get today. I apologize in advance for lack of content and my voice. We actually had a live event for my group members there, for my private group there. And it happens from time to time. I lose my voice and then I just physically can't speak. It just kind of happens. It'll probably go out periodically here during this video, so it's going to take a lot longer to film than normal. But don't worry, we'll get through it today. We'll talk about that steal of the century. And Wall Street is even talking about it possibly being the steal of the century as well, despite all the chaos and everything else around all that sort of stuff. Let's see if we agree that this stock is indeed the steal of the century or not. At least that's what some of the guys on Wall Street are saying.
Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. That's Landon Swan, co-founder of Lightfolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here. Hey, Kevin.
All right. So right across the board, Google Alphabet's only down about 3% today. So outperforming some of the other Mag 7 names for sure. But this thing has just been in a death spiral over the last 2 or 3 months here, Landon. Do you guys have data that maybe supports the fact that, hey, it's run too far, too fast to the downside?
Maybe. I mean, if you zoom out, look at, 2.5 years, this thing has doubled in the last 2.5 years. But of course, nobody's thinking like that. You got to look at what it's done recently, which has been pretty painful. I mean, right before.
All right. That right there is kind of the first, I won't call it dumb, but pretty silly statement there. Well, it's doubled over that time. Yeah, because it got beaten all the way down to 80. Again, this is where Wall Streeters think. They think, well, a stock's doubled, so therefore it needs to cool off. Well, a stock can still be significantly undervalued even after a double up. Ask all the Meta shareholders, right? This right here is the same kind of talk that got people selling it at 160 because, well, it's doubled up pretty fast, so you better lay off a Meta. Never mind the fact that it's only at a PE of, 11 instead of 8 like it was. It's just stupid. That's why I always harp valuation so much. Don't look at what percentage is it up, what percentage is it down. I don't know, pull up a chart from when Google started. It's up to, thousands of percent. Oh, well, that's an epic run right there. Probably needs to pull back and cool off for another 10 years. That's kind of the logic line that they're using there. That's why I ignore traders. I ignore Wall Streeters in general because they think this way. And I'm not here to say right or wrong or anything else of that nature, but it is significantly flawed for a long-term buy and hold investor. Maybe it means something to traders. No idea. Long-term buy and hold investors, this type talk is just stupid.
Last earnings report, they're trading like 205, 210, somewhere in there. They had a narrow miss. They reported slower growth in search, YouTube, services. Everything, grew slower than expected. The cloud is actually their cloud products are doing well. They're plus 30% on a year-over-year basis. But yeah, I mean, 207 looks great when you're looking at 152 right now. So you're wondering what's happened here. I think that, I've touched on this before. It's tough to be Google right now because even though they dominate, they absolutely dominate the market. I think they've got like near 60% of all search volume out there are spending on search and ads. They've also got a bit of a problem with AI because, a lot of what we're seeing is people are, when they want an answer to something, they used to go to Google, but now you can go to GPT or something similar and just get that answered. Now, I will point out here, as this chart shows, GPT surpassed Bing back in September of 24 as more people, going there, but they're still a long ways off. This chart is not to scale. That's half a billion for GPT and 16 billion for Google. So they're still 30 times in the lead. They're nowhere near being surpassed, but
right there, he kind of double talks a little bit. It shows you how Wall Street works. More importantly, as time turns on, people are going to search more. Obviously, I hate to say it's definitely search is definitely saturated, but not completely saturated. People are turning more and more to the internet for answers. And all the talk around ChatGPT killing, Google and stuff like that. Well, as you see, they're making strides. They killed their own product, Bing, right? Seems that nature, but they're not anywhere close to anywhere touching Google in and of itself. And I'd be curious to see exactly, are they counting just simply Google search? Are they counting Google plus YouTube? all those other things of that nature, those kind of little nuances there where you kind of make your bearish argument. It's not included in this chart. I don't believe they address it at all either. So that to me is another standing point for Google in the right direction. Secondarily, and the more important part is it doesn't matter what happens, is Google makes their money off of ads. And even if somebody were to take over and be the most searched thing in the world, if you can't figure out how to do ads and target ads as well as Google and Meta does, it doesn't matter. The money is still going to flow to those two because they are so good. If you've never owned a small business before and you've never done ads on Google versus Bing or Google versus another one or Meta versus another one, you have no idea how much better. I mean, it's not a little superior. It is far superior to anything else that's out there. It's like they're both 1 and 1A or, 1 and 1, whatever the heck you want to call it there. And then everybody else is just, might as well not even try. The gap is that large in terms of the quality of what you get and the massive, click-through rates and everything else that you want when you're doing ads is massively better there. So cool, ChatGPT can continue to erode at that all it wants to. They can't figure out how to monetize it. Who freaking cares? They can't figure out how to make the ads more targeted. Cool. Search is going down, but that business in terms of money spent on Google Ads is going to continue to go up because business owners don't make decisions based upon hype or what you think or anything else. They go with results. And if you continue to get great results from Google Ads or Meta's ads, Facebook ads, whatever the case is, you're going to continue to go to those until somebody else proves that they can do it just as well. And as you can see, when you're 31.8 times, we don't know whether that could be even larger if they're not including YouTube search in that. You're not even close to the ballpark in terms of being able to touch their business, bottom line profits. That's what matters in the end. That's what I'm focused on. That's why all these silly narratives and everything else, I laughed at them 3 years ago. I'm laughing at them right now. And I have this feeling maybe in time it changes. Of course, things always change, but I need something tangible. This is not tangible.
Moving in the wrong direction for them, because what we're seeing is people, when they want an answer to a question, they've discovered that Google gives you ads and people that are good at SEO, but maybe not the answer that you want. And GPT always gives you the answer that you want, or at least it makes you feel that way. Sometimes it hallucinates. But what's interesting is, Google's kind of got this problem where they started to adapt to that by putting an AI answer at the top. But that's creating a click problem for them, because when you go to Google and ask a question, you either get the answer that you're looking for in the AI and you don't need to click on something, which is what they need you to do. They need you to click on things so they can make money, or their AI didn't answer it well enough, so you go somewhere else and you leave them and go to GPT or somewhere else. So they've got a tough situation here.
Again, he provides no data to support that. And more importantly, the only data that we do have or that we ever will have is in earnings. And I'm not seeing that showing up in the earnings. Now, maybe that's true in the future. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about different ways Google still makes money, regardless of whether you click on the article or whether or not you just read the AI or not. There's a lot of different conflicting information there in regards to that. The reality is, let's let the company tell us. Let's let earnings tell us. These are Wall Street narratives. And with Wall Street narratives, who freaking cares? Most of them are garbage. If you guys don't understand how sell-side analysts work and how all the folks that go on these different shows work, you really need to study that and understand they are trading their book on the TV. That is what they are doing when they make videos. And until you understand that part of the game, you're going to continue to fall for the noise in some cases because you don't understand the game. When you understand the game, you realize, I ignore all this sort of stuff. I think it's hilarious because I understand the reason behind it in the first place.
However, as I always point out, they've got such a lead on the user base side that if they can solve this problem, they're good to go. And this is going to look like the steal of a century at $150 sometime in the future. I do like in that last quarter, they talked about, I think some people were disappointed in the fact that they're projected to spend $75 billion this year instead of the 59. So they're spending more than people had anticipated. I like that. I think they need to make a big investment into technology and AI and to make sure that GPT may have surpassed Bing, but they won't come close to Google, right? That's the goal that they've got to have. The naysayers are saying that, this is the next Kodak. It's gonna go away as technology just completely makes them irrelevant. But the difference here is that they've got such a dominant user base that even if they get, just eaten away at little by little over the next year, if they all of a sudden solve it, then the problem goes away pretty much instantly because they've got that. They don't have to get adoption. They've already got adoption. They've got the user base built in. So, the data that we're seeing is.
Yeah, the Kodak argument's laughable. I, I don't know how else to say it. It's almost as if people don't understand why big tech continues to be dominant and why I believe they will continue to be dominant into the future. They did not sit back and rest on their laurels. They did not become a corporate, basically a pseudo government entity in regards to all the red tape and all these other, not being dynamic and not spending money on R&D, all these other things, all these other mistakes that Kodak made. None of the big tech has made it. That would include Google. You can go back and you can study exactly all the mistakes that management made over time, and none of it, any of the big tech has made so far. That's the first piece. The second piece was Kodak got killed because of this emerging technology that completely transformed the entire world in all kinds of sectors, not just, with Kodak, but with all kinds of sectors. AI is not that same impact. It's just not. I'm sorry. The creation of computers, everything going digital, everything going onto the internet was far larger and far greater than what AI is going to do. AI is another piece of that puzzle, kind of the next evolution of it. It is not a complete paradigm shift altogether, like going from, essentially paper and pen to computer was back whenever, Kodak started having its problems and its struggles. So, those type comparisons, when you hear that, just move on. That person's not even worth listening to at that stage. Definitely not rooted anywhere in reality, any sort of critical thought whatsoever, or anything else of that nature. And you heard him say, it could very well be the steal of the century. I'm sorry, it's not the steal of the century, but I'll take it. I think it's going to be a great company long-term. I'm very, very happy if it just turns into a great buy in the 150s, if we get 140s, if we get 120s. Obviously, we got 80s just a couple of years ago. So that to me was more of a steal of the century than anything I'm getting right now. So a little bit of hyperbole there. That's okay. Still a great bargain, great price at this particular point in time.
Yeah, it's slowing down a little bit, but overall, this could be a good buying opportunity if you believe in the company's ability to adapt. I think they have that ability. They have to see this as a threat. They have to have seen what's going on with their clicks and the AI, beating them at their own game. I don't know what the solution is from a technology perspective, because Google wants people to go on there and search for something, click on a couple ads, and get paid. You're paying Google that way, but that's not what the people want. So now they've got to solve this problem. I don't know what the solution is. I think that they'll get there. They're going to lose some of their lead in the process, but once they solve it, they're good to go.
When you're already the big dominant force, of course, you're going to have your lead erode a little bit. I mean, you can't keep 100% all the time, right? Especially in a very mature business like search is. So, again, he kind of gave more, this, that, and the other with no data behind it. Yeah, earnings are what tell you everything. And right now, I've loved the earnings. I've loved everything they've said. I've loved the guidance. Again, it's not to blow it out of the water, best in the world, best that they've ever had or anything of that nature. But, especially given how mature the business is and everything else, it's really hard to find too many companies that are executing better than Google is right now.
Tom, I think Google needs a new PR firm. That's what I think more than anything else, because very quietly, Gemini is now in search. Gemini is now in the Android. Gemini is now in Gmail. And they're slowly but surely, bringing it out. But no one really, very few people, there's no hype about any of it. They've got $125 billion in operating cash. Google Cloud is now profitable and gaining some market share on AWS, doing extremely well. Obviously, we didn't even talk about YouTube and how that's starting to take over cable or streaming. I guess it's not cable. So I think Google has their finger on the pulse of a lot of key areas of the U.S. economy. They just need to let people know it's the cheapest valuation of the Magnificent Seven by a long shot.
I don't care if they let people know. I like getting shares on the cheap. Long term, Wall Street always comes around to it in the end. Long term, everybody will figure out what they do. It's just a different strategy. You don't need the hype train going to the moon, right? You don't need everything being $1 trillion this and $1 trillion that. You don't need somebody out there and running ads and doing all these other things and running on every single, news media outlet out there trying to, yell to the skies that we got all this great stuff. Look at us over here. There's different ways to execute and to skin this cat, and the top, the cream of the crop always rises to the top in the end. I don't know, so don't quote me on this, but I don't remember Google ever being that flashy company that was out there tooting their own horn and showing you all the great things they can do. I'm not saying they haven't done it before, but they don't seem to be the type company that just gets out there and tries to hype up their own stuff all the time. They just kind of always been kind of a, hey, we're going to execute in the background and kind of do our own thing and, just be the best at what we do and kind of move forward. Kind of the way it is. I mean, I heard about Google ads from other people. I didn't hear it from them promoting the fact that you did Google ads. I heard it from other folks saying, yeah, they're the best. It's incredible. That's how I heard it. And obviously it's done quite well. Everybody knows that now. So it's just may very well be a different strategy altogether. Obviously this guy just wants you to come on TV and scream. Okay, cool. Well, whatever the case is, just don't really care. I care about the numbers and I care about what they're doing underneath.
I read an article. It was a 17 forward PE yesterday before today's sell-off. So it's even cheaper today, guys. So I think they've got a PR problem, I think, at Google Alphabet. Landon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible to see what the PE ratio has come down to. And it kind of reminds me of that old saying, when everybody's greedy, be fearful. When everyone's fearful, be greedy. We're getting to that second stage. I mean, everyone is worried about, how the tariffs are going to affect everything, selling everything out, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I agree that we will look back and think, man, how did I not buy Google at 150? One of these days, it's going to be 300, 400 in the not too distant future, because again, they have a problem with search, and I think they can solve it. They've got a long enough lead when it comes to market share that they'll solve search. But you're right, their cloud computing is doing extremely well. The data that we've got is showing them outperforming. They're actually plus 30% on web visits, where AWS and Azure are down on the year. So I'm sorry, plus 7. 30% was their revenue. But web visits plus 7, where the other two are negative 12 and negative 15. So they're absolutely taking market share on that. Their YouTube, you're right, is absolutely killing it when it comes to streaming. And so they may not get everything. That search may not be the big piece of the pie that it was before. I still think they can solve it and defend it, but the other areas that they're expanding in are, they're doing really well. Plus, they've got some long shots out there like Waymo, Verily, I think is what it's called, the health data app that they're building. So, they're putting a lot of feelers out there to see what works. And of course, they've got the leverage to make a lot of different things work. But I agree. PR is I think a lot of people, when they think of Alphabet, it's just web only, and they forget of all the different things that they're doing, especially with AI. The main concern I think that people have.
That's just traders wanting to pump stocks in the end. That's all that it is. This is why they are upset about that. I'd prefer quiet. Do your thing in the background there. Let the results speak for themselves. Let that stuff come through on earnings. They're going to read earnings, and eventually Wall Street's going to come around to it again. So that's all to our advantage. These are just guys that have trades on, want to push it a certain way, or are thinking about putting trades on, and obviously trying to create a narrative there and create a scenario where it can run up, and then of course they can dump it and say they're geniuses and all other good stuff like that Wall Street always does.
Search, and I think that it's a weakness for them, but everything else is looking pretty strong. And I agree, this valuation is going to look really cheap in about a year from now.
Yeah, and I heard their new Gemini version 2.5 Pro is leading as far as best at math, instruction, creative writing. So maybe it's the best one out there yet. I still think Grok is still the best one out there, but we'll have to wait and see on that. All right, great stuff as always, Landon. Appreciate it.
All right, so we'll go ahead and end the video right there. Who's going to win this? Is it going to be Gronk? Is it going to be, Gemini? Is it going to be ChatGPT? Who cares? I care about who figures out how to monetize it. And more importantly, it's already being commoditized. So it'll become one of those things to where there's going to be multiple winners, maybe, right? That's completely possible as well. Maybe everybody would just have their own preference. Maybe it will just be integrated with everything else, and you won't even notice that they're there anymore. Nobody knows at that stage. So that right there doesn't concern me at all. But coming back to, is Google the steal of the century or not? I don't personally believe it's the steal of the century. However, it is one of the best deals in the market right now. Now, obviously, with it in free fall, there's lots of great deals out there. There's not just one. That right there is where you're playing your valuation. The stocks that you want to own are so key because you just simply execute through a downtime like this. But in regards to Google, you guys know it's been on my buy list for a while now. The valuation is great. I've said before, I think it's the best value out there out of the Magnificent Seven by far. And obviously with this latest drawdown, it continues to be that. I understand there's great deals all the way across the board there. In regards to that, it's definitely a stock I'm going to continue to add to. This is absolutely another opportunity, not $80 opportunity, but it's absolutely another incredible opportunity to get an incredible business that is just doing its thing, avoiding hype, avoiding all the other garbage, and just continue to execute underneath while Wall Street kind of does their talking there. Remember, if you want to get that video that I was talking about earlier, you want direct access to me, you want to be able to take 5 free courses, all the other stuff like that we offer with our group, get your free coaching, everything else, make sure you check out the pinned comment. I may have left something special down there for those folks that hang around in the video this long. Check it out, see if a membership's right for you, see everything that you get. It's a ton, guys. It's the pinned comment down there. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.